Hey everyone, welcome back to Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Wright, and today's guest is Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
So, can you tell our listeners what triggered the war between the sorcerer and the necromancer brothers?
Jealousy, I think, is the big, like, you gotta narrow it down to one word: jealousy. One was born with the ability to use magic naturally when humans don't have, and the other one wanted it.
Oh, okay. So, is this? Have you ever watched Troll Hunters? Like on
Um, no, that's not familiar. I don't think I've watched that. I don't tend to watch a lot of television.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna ask you, is it like kind of like Troll Hunters? Because I love Troll Hunters. But why did you choose the an introverted protagonist? I cannot pronounce the word for
I think,
the high stakes fantasy.
well, I think that there's a lot of a lot of extroverts out there, but my character is a very unlikely hero, and it made more sense to have an introverted character. Plus, I'm also introverted, so I can kind of understand that angle of things and stuff. I think that at times we are all a little introverted, and it's easy to relate to a character.
Yeah, definitely. So what does the veil represent beyond the magical boundary?
I think separating us from where we belong. So my entire series, my character's trying to figure out, he has magic, so he doesn't fit with us in our human domain. He's human, but he has magic, so he doesn't fit over here. And then this veil that separates our magical realm, he's too human for there, so he's trying to figure out where to belong. And this veil is literally him.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring up your book so people can see what they look like. I did have your website up, but it's not up now. So hold on. Because I want them to see the book. It's is it jennifershaw.com?
jmshawauthor.com.
Okay. Okay. It was saved. Ooh, okay. Because I want the listeners to be able to see the books while we're talking about them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. This is good. Okay. Okay, so were the monsters in the city symbolic to anything in real life?
I guess sort of the shadows and the darkness that exists in society. There's It's always ever present, and we may not see it, but it's always there.
Okay, so were any of the characters, this is outside of the questions I've listed, were any of the characters like based on real life people, like people that you know in your life?
I try really hard not to do that, especially if I have to kill them off. That just seems
uh,
that might ruin a friendship.
yeah, true. So, how did you approach writing the prophecy without making it feel cliche?
Just trying to think, like for myself, how would I visualize it? My characters being introverted and stuff, they're not really accepting that this prophecy exists. They don't want it to exist. But it's more about my character's development and their journey through the story rather than just this prophecy. So there's other things besides that.
Oh, okay. So, what does the role destiny? Yeah, what role does destiny versus free will play in your first book?
Well, I mean, he has a choice to he can choose to do those things. He feels morally obligated because he has these magical powers to do what's right, and so he's trying his best, but he also is way over his head. So he's trying to kind of avoid some of this hardship and kind of regroup and such. And it doesn't seem to matter where he goes; it's following him.
Oh, so is he like I guess the male version is a warlock of a witch, or do they call males witches too?
There's warlocks, there's wizards. It was just sort of a term that stuck, and it means it's very similar. depending on which fantasy games you play, warlocks have more of a negative connotation, and I think it's because he's so similar to to one of the antagonists. That name just sort of stuck with him because he has a similar magic.
Oh, okay. So what was the most emotionally difficult scene to write in this book?
Without giving too much away, there was a character that I became attached to, and I'm sure I've heard that my audience became attached to him, my readers became attached to him.
Oh,
But then they died, and that was a very emotional, gut-wrenching scene to write.
oh. So when you, well, this is outside the questions too. So when you was writing the story, the first book, did you know that that character was gonna, like, you was gonna kill off that character?
Um, Not when I first introduced him, but probably about his second or third chapter where he was in there, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to kill him."
Oh, dang.
Wasn't what I wanted to do. It just seemed to fit the story.
Oh man. So who's your favorite supporting character in your first book and why?
I think I like Agus. He's this commander. He's an elf. He's very like stoic and tough and stuff, but he's got an emotional side and he's very humble.
Oh, okay. Nice. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your second book. What does Thea, the goddess of light, represent thematically?
All things good, light, life, all things alive and living, whereas her counterpart in the darkness, or also called, his name is Omus. He is the opposite. He is, representative of darkness and evil and death.
Oh, okay. So how did you design Almas as a force of corruption without making him one dimensional?
I didn't realize how fun it is to write bad guys, and to get into their heads, and whenever I'm writing a bad guy, I try to think about their motivations, like, why are they doing this? They didn't start out as bad. What made them bad, and why? And so if I keep those in my head, then it's a lot easier to write a person.
Yeah. So this is another question outside the questions I've listed for you. I'm so sorry, but whenever you're like saying something, I'm like, ooh, this is a good question. So I'm writing my first book, and what I want to know is how do you go about like writing the characters? Like, this is the character, this is what they're gonna do, this is why. Like, did you do that with your books?
I didn't do a whole lot of plotting. I'm not a big plotter. I have a general theme for each book, like a general, like I know where to start, I know where to end, I know approximately what needs to happen in the middle. The rest of it, I let my characters kind of live their life and see what develops. And sometimes it's really good. Other times I have to reel them back in and say, no, we're not going there. Let's go over here. So a lot of times the characters just sort of developed themselves. I know that sounds weird because I'm writing them, but you know.
Oh, okay. So Esme's arc is particularly dark. What inspired her descendant into becoming ominous vessel?
So she feels like she has to live up to her father's shadow. Her father was a very authoritarian ruler. He did some amazing things. It was impossible to put all of the things into that one story. They get a little bit more information on him, like into the fourth book, but she's living in his shadow, and she feels that she's not being given the same respect as her father. She thinks, if I have more power, so she's after Callum and she's trying to get his power. And she accepts Olmus because he's offering her the similar power, equal in strength and stuff. And I think there was a phrase, I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but power is power in her mind. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter the source. So she accepts Olmus, not realizing it's basically she's selling her soul in a figuratively way, selling her soul to the devil.
Oh, dang. So what message were you exploring through Cullum's return to the human world?
Just his desire to reconnect with his humanity and see if he could find somewhere to belong, his big sense of trying to belong somewhere. He was so busy working and just trying to survive in the first book. But he's lost his place to work, he's lost his job, he's lost his apartment, and he's trying to get some semblance of a normal life back. But he's also trying to learn as well, because he's just discovered this whole new realm of magic and he's trying to learn a little bit about it.
Oh, okay, I like that. So, how did you design the magical realms geography and politics for this book?
I'm a big fan of, in my mind, magic and medieval times are very
Mm,
synonymous. Nature, lots of nature stuff. I am very big fan of like the Merlin tales that I grew up, like Merlin the magician and the Knights of the Round Table
yeah.
and King Arthur. And that was in that same time period. And perhaps that's why I kind of associate magic with medieval times and stuff. So they don't have technology. They're very, Renaissance kind of, like, I guess that Victorian, well, not even Victorian, it's like that era, right?
Yeah.
And they don't need technology because they have magic, but they're also very live off the land, in touch with the world, and um, because magic and life are synonymous.
Yeah, true, true. This just reminds me of the books you was just saying, Marlin. Like I remember Marlin. I
Yes.
do. It
Yeah.
was a long time ago, but I remember. So, what challenges did you face while writing in large scale battles between light and darkness?
Oh, the difficult thing is that they couldn't destroy one another. They had to conquer, but they couldn't destroy. So there were some limitations there. If it was just a normal battle between two bad guys, then they could just annihilate each other or fight to the death, so to speak. But they couldn't destroy one another, or they'd be destroying themselves because they're so interconnected.
Oh, okay. So, how did you balance the action scenes with emotional development in the series?
It's more of a culmination. I do a lot of the emotional build up to those, and then it becomes more their reaction to things. I see a lot when I'm writing, I see it as a movie in my head. So I am writing the scenes that I'm seeing, and I'm basically just writing down what I see. So keeping it all straight is not a problem for me. In fact, I struggle with putting too much details in there. Then my editor has to reel them back out.
Nice. So, when you write your books, you put a lot of details in them, and then they edit it out.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wish I had your brain because I put like a little bit of details and stuff. And my teacher's always saying, I mean, my instructor is always saying, I need a little bit more details. And I'm like, okay.
I think I
But
had one part there where my editor made a note. He's like, "You have 5 adjectives in this sentence. Can we just keep it to like maximum 2?"
nice.
Okay.
So, what does the tug of war between light and darkness say about eternal conflict?
Uh, I grew up and I remember hearing this phrase, and I can't quite remember where I heard it from, but you can't appreciate the good things in life unless you suffer some of the bad. Like you can't appreciate the light without knowing the darkness. And that kind of stuck with me. In that the bigger picture with that is that you need both aspects of them. And then on a personal, like on an interpersonal level, we each have a good side and a bad side within ourselves. And I think it's important to embrace it. It doesn't make us a bad person to have bad elements of our psyche, but we can't have one without the other.
Right, right, nice. So I wanted to talk about your third book. What inspired the concept of Neola? Is that how you pronounce her name?
Of Neola?
Neola?
Yeah.
Yeah, and her role as goddess of the veil.
I always figured like the keeper, that I don't know if you ever watched the Ghostbusters, like the old movies and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself, I guess. But they had the gatekeeper, and she's kind of the gatekeeper. She's the one that sustains this veil and guards the temple of the veil, which has the source of the veil in it. And there's a connection there that we learn a little bit more about, especially in the fourth book.
Oh, okay. Nice. So the torture Callum endures is intense. What does it symbolize in his larger journey?
I think that the torture was more a representation of life beating you down, and it beat him way down. It wasn't. It was. There was also the flip side where Jax was going through his own trials, and Jax was a secondary main character in the third book that I introduced. So while Callum's being, knocked down, Jax is being built up. So there was that inverse relationship with them. But I think it just represents. It was. Although it was physical torture as well, it was more psychological than anything.
Oh, okay. So how did you handle pacing a narrative that includes trauma, recovery, and action?
Just being real about it and trying to write with, like portraying the emotions and the struggles that a person goes through with trauma. I think everyone at one point in their life has suffered something that's emotionally, you know influential, emotionally dark in our lives, and I think that everybody can kind of connect with that.
That's true. So this is another question outside of the questions. Are you gonna make this like are you gonna continue the series
Oh yes.
or is it the end?
Nope, it's not the end. I've already started working on my fifth book and plotted for my sixth. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in the series. I'm aiming for between 6 and 9, but I keep coming up with ideas. So I might have to just stop coming up with ideas or maybe write my own another series or something. But I do know where the series is going to end. It's just how many books it's going to take to get there.
Gotcha. So are you gonna be introducing new characters as you write
If
them?
Yeah, if it's appropriate. There will be some new characters here and there because in life we meet new people all the time, and some of them are just passing characters in our lives, and others play a more important part. I think that my character, as he goes through these adventures, and he's got some terrible luck, but he's also kind of amassing a community of friends and making his own family circle, so to speak, with these friends.
Yeah. So what does Column's healing journey teach readers about resilience?
I wanted to portray in the fourth book that he's taking those steps towards healing. I wanted to portray, first of all, in the beginning, what happens if we don't face our fears. That they poison us from the inside, and the first step to from my perspective, the first step to healing is to face those fears. If you don't face those fears, they're going to take over. They'd never go away. But even when you do face those fears, they're still there. It's not like all of a sudden, poof, you're better. But to also demonstrate the fact that we need people in our lives to rely on, to give us strength, to be there for us so that we can heal.
Yeah. So was it difficult for you to show deep male friendship between Colum and Jax in the fantasy context?
Not really. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I have 4 younger brothers,
Oh,
so a lot of their relationships and, like, the bantering back and forth was a lot of that was just inspired by the relationship that my brothers have with each other.
oh, okay. I have 4 younger brothers too.
Oh, no. Are you the only girl as well?
No, I'm not the only girl though. I have a
Oh,
younger sister too.
I thought my sole purpose in life was to babysit, and I made my brothers pay.
So, why did you choose to explore themes of guilt, shame, and redemption so deeply?
Because everybody feels those, and they're very hard feelings to deal with. I think that we all of us have at one point or another felt guilt over something that we've done or something we failed to do. Same thing with shame; these are very visceral feelings and stuff. And then redemption is just kind of reaching the end of that circle and finding, overcoming those feelings.
Oh, okay. So, what foreshadowing from earlier books pays off in the Fractured Bell?
I'm not sure I can answer that without giving out way too many secrets.
Yeah, don't give away. Don't give away. No, we don't want it. So, so I'm gonna ask you
Some
about
of
the.
the secrets that are like the little seeds that I plant throughout the first three and now the fourth novel will be important later on.
Ah, okay. I like that. So this is aside from the questions again. So do you plant like little Easter eggs in your books from like the Maryland series or anything like that? Like do you plant like little Easter eggs in your
I
stories?
I have made mention to sort of historical things, but not coming right out and saying it, because Merlin wasn't the only inspiration for the stories and the characters. There were other inspirations. So, there's little tidbits of stuff if you're keen enough. Just like if you're keen enough with your trees and your nature, you can kind of figure out where the setting is this story takes place.
Yeah, nice. So I wanted to ask you about your fourth book. So I'm gonna butcher this name. I know I'm gonna butcher this name, but it starts with the D. Do you know what I'm gonna say?
I say Durgarin. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what my brain likes to say when I look at it. Just like with the character, with the elven character, who is one of my favorite characters, it's Agus, even though it's pronounced by my computer Agis. I'm like, how would you spell it? But yeah, no, and I mean, like, you know what? When somebody sees a word, I'm sure there's books that I've read where I can't read the name, and I do the best I can, and I'm fine. I mean, the author sure doesn't care how you pronounce it, so I certainly don't.
Okay. I'm gonna try my best. So who are the Dagarin and how do they differ from previous threats?
So in the first book, the threat was more human because it was two human brothers from our side of the veil that was threatening the realm, whereas the Durgarin are a threat within the realm. They are there was a history with the elves and they split, and the Durgarin went south and kind of established their own territory because they lost. It was kind of a civil war between elves kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So why did you choose to make the Dagarin kings plan a reckoning against instead of war?
It's vengeance because they were defeated by their northern brethren, and it's all about vengeance.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So what new powers or limitations does Cullum face in this installment?
So in the fourth book, he's learning how to combine his psychic abilities with magic and to create something new.
Ooh. So how do you define the heroism by the end of the fourth book?
The heroism is defined by him accepting his role. There's knowing that there's dangers, knowing that he could, potentially die. And we've seen a little bits of that throughout the other stories and stuff. But I think the turning point really happens in the fourth book, that he accepts his role and he accepts that he has a choice. He's not just a tool. He's not just a human with magic, and he must do this. He now chooses to do this.
Oh, nice. So what was your strategy for escalating stakes across the four books?
I don't really know if I had a strategy for it, but I mean, I had to start somewhere and, elevate it as I go, and it'll become darker and the stakes higher as we go along in the series. If nothing changes, then you don't grow. So,
Oh, nice. So, okay. So hold on, because I have the question. I had a question. So, how did you decide which character would live, die, or fall to the darkness?
they decide for me. It's weird. It's like my characters kind of I have this idea in my head. I know their history, I know their motivations. I create them based on this idea of their personality, and I just give them reign, let them free reign sometimes, and they develop themselves through situations as well. Like some of the situations will help the determine who's going to die and how they respond to things. Plus, if I'm in a really weird mood, sometimes a character will turn out a little bit badder than I thought.
So, what would each book's theme be in a single word?
Oh, I think with the first book is acceptance. The second book is well, again, it's a lot of acceptance and you know, stepping up. With the third book is kind of starting to trust, trying to trust. And friendship is in the third book. And in the fourth book, it's all about healing.
Okay. So, looking back, what moment across all four books defined Callum Walker?
Oh, that's a hard one. Without giving away things, I think there was a moment in my fourth book where my character had to heal another character. So my character Callum had to heal this other character, and in doing so, Callum would have made himself weak and vulnerable, knowing that this character they were healing was there to try to harm them, so to speak. So there was a lot of trust, but that was one of the biggest moments of him. I have to do something. I can't just let this person die, no matter who they are.
Okay. So, how have readers responded to the series so far?
So far, it's been pretty positive. I mean, I get, there's a few pieces of feedback that, I take to heart. It's like, if there's some grammatical errors, okay, that's good. I can go change those and upload it. But for the most part, it's been pretty positive. I think I did have one or two where they just said they just didn't like that I didn't write my books in first person, or they didn't like the character because they thought he was a loser. And so those ones I don't give as much credence to if it's more of a personal thing. But if a lot of people are saying the same thing, then I give them a little more, I give it a little more weight. And if it's something that I can change, then I definitely do try to change that.
Wow. So, what was the most meaningful message a reader has sent you?
Not so much messages, but there's been a couple book signings that I've gone to where I've had younger readers coming in and getting their book signed, and they're just super excited. They're so excited they can't talk. And then, they leave, and then you hear them going, "That was amazing." And I'm just like, I'm just a normal person, but I'm glad that they're inspired.
Yeah, they are like they met a celebrity or something.
Yeah. Just like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm just a normal person. I like to hide in a dark room with my laptop and my coffee and just type away.
So, are there any plans for audiobooks or adaptations?
Yes, I'm looking into it. I've had enough people requesting it. I'm looking into the process of converting all of my books into audiobooks. It's just a time consuming. I got to do a lot of research. There's a lot of information out there in a lot of places. So I just kind of have to check out every resource and find out which is the best avenue.
Nice. So I have Kindle. Are they on Kindles right now?
They are. They're on Kindle. The first two are on Kobo right now. The third and the fourth one will eventually be on Kobo. They're also available as a print on demand through Amazon, Amazon.ca in Canada, Amazon.com in the US. They're also available as ebooks on Barnes & Noble.
Okay, nice. So what book or author inspired you the most growing up?
Oh, Dean Koontz was one author that I read a lot of when I was younger. And then I think I graduated into like Stephen King. I'm a big fan of The Lord of the Rings. I love Game of Thrones. I like those big epic fantasy adventures and stuff. Yeah. And I've just recently discovered Brandon Sanderson. So he may be on that. He's definitely, wedging his way onto that list. So.
I just got into fantasy because I wanted to explore other like genres because I'm a horror fanatic, like Stephen King, like you said. So, but I just got into fantasy, so I'm definitely going to check out your books.
Okay. Definitely. Yeah. So I always tell people that the only thing I don't write history because I get bored easily and I fall asleep. And I don't write mystery because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. And although I write elements of romance, I don't do the spicy bedroom scenes. But everything else, if it's entertaining and there's lots of action, adventure, it keeps me entertained. It's fair game. Sci-fi, I'd love to do sci-fi. I'd love to do horror, thriller, supernatural, paranormal, those kind of things. I've been writing for 35 years, so there's no stopping me now.
Wow. So what genre would you love to explore next?
Sci-fi. I'm may or may not be working on a future dystopian Robin Hood meets Romeo and Juliet with hints of Hunger Games.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I find out more.
Oh man. So if you could give Callum one piece of advice, what would it be?
Lighten up.
Lighten up.
But bad things happen. Just it's not our fault. Stop carrying the weight of the world.
Yeah.
You can't control everybody. You can't control everything. Just accept those things that you can control, and the other stuff, just let it go.
That's really great advice. So my last and final question before I let you go, what's next for you? Like what's next for Bookwise?
For Bookwise, I'm working on my 5th book in this series. I'm going to take my time on this one because I don't want to have to rush. And I feel like I was getting to a point where I was rushing. But at the same time, I'm also working on another project and plotting for a 3rd plot project, which I probably won't start until next year. And it's like Back to the Future meets War of the Worlds.
Ooh.
Okay, so
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. That's going to be a future project. I haven't even started writing any of that. So, yeah, I've been, like I said, and some of these ideas, like I've written hundreds and hundreds of books. I just only started publishing in 2021. So,
okay. Well, I look forward to reading your book. Definitely. So I want to thank you so much, Jennifer, for being a guest on my podcast and chatting with me about your books.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Jennifer. Definitely go check out her books. I know I will. I know I say it about every author I interview, but they really have great ideas and their storylines are really catchy. So definitely go check them out. Thank you all so much. See you next time for the next interview. Bye.